What is happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today, reactions to the classics. We are up to the year 2006 and our top 10 albums by year draft. Been a fun series dating all the way back to the year 1965, going up to current day, and hey man, the lights at the end of the tunnel.
It's there.
It's brimming a little bit. It's been a fun series. Tell them how it works, Dad.
Yeah, well, the way it works is Trey's going to get first pick this time. I'm going to get second, third. We alternate it every year, fourth and fifth. Sometimes you want first pick. Sometimes you don't if there's a lot of strong albums, and there's a lot of strong albums this year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad we take 2 and 3. I want you to pay close attention because you're going to pick a winner. And if you want to give us your top 5 or 10 albums in the comments below, feel free to do that. If you're a patron, don't forget, one of these albums is going to be picked to be nominated for our album listening party we do once a month on YouTube. If you're not a patron, hey man, check out our Patreon link below, the Patreon link on the end screen. We appreciate it. It takes a lot to keep this channel going, a lot of man hours, Trey.
Oh yeah.
We put up videos every single day. So with all that out of the way, Trey, I knew what you were going to pick. This album probably would have made my list. It wouldn't have been this high, but I knew this was going to, well, it would have made my honorable mention. It might have made my top 5, but I knew that, well, this one has some obvious high sentimental value for you. So take it away.
Oh, definitely, man. It's going to be brand news. The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. A desert island disc for me. I discovered this record maybe sophomore, junior year of high school. And, man, I've loved it ever since. Even if I don't listen to the group as much as I did back then. Anytime I revisit it, man, I'm thrust right back into it. Seen Brand New live many times. Saw their last show ever. And I guess I'd categorize them as an alt-rock, maybe post-hardcore, emo conglomeration.
Yeah, especially on this album.
Oh, definitely, man. And this is their third record. I know you chose Deja Entendu from 2003.
Which I actually like that much better than this one.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not alone in that. You're not alone in that. I think this is their best work, though. Just like some of the other records we've been talking about in this period, Dad. The demos ended up being leaked online. You know, you got to think, okay, mid-2000s, how is this working?
That wasn't happening to Lennon and McCartney and the boys back in the day, but now, yeah.
So they went back to the studio and reworked some other additional songs out. A couple of the tracks on those demos ended up being on the record, just kind of redone. But recorded some new stuff, and it ended up working out for them quite well. It's very highly influential on the alt-rock scene of this time as well. So many artists have pointed to this as an influential release, man. Sowing Season, You Won't Know, The Gosser, Jesus, all these are just fantastic songs that really sound kind of dark at points, energetic. Jesse Lacey, a fantastic lyricist and songwriter. Ben Accardi, one of the more underrated guitarists, I think, of this century as well. Just a lot of explosive moments in here. Pretty emotional record.
Like Limousine. That song. That song is powerful, man. 7 minutes long, crazy.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dad. So all that to say, man, I would definitely go give this a spin if you haven't already.
I agree.
Alt rock's kind of up your genre, so to speak, man. We'll always love that one, and it had to be chosen first. But Dad, I really like your number one pick.
I had a heck of a time on my first 2 ordering them, but we're gonna go with the Arctic Monkeys debut. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. Debut. And not only the debut, and this happened a lot more in the UK and the US, but EPs were big, so they had a big following. Became the fastest selling debut album in British music history, selling over 360,000 copies in its first week, and remains the fastest selling debut album by a band ever. So it'll stay there forever because we don't sell albums like this now. It has since gone 7 times platinum in the UK. Among its accolades, including being named Best Album of 2006 by Time Magazine, winning the Brit Award for Best British Album, won the 2007 Mercury Prize, and receiving a Grammy Award nom for Best Alternative Music Album. So what's the overlying theme there? Didn't even win a Grammy. It's got all that juice. Ranked in several greatest albums lists, 371 in Rolling Stone's 500 greatest, 19 in NME's, 30 in Rolling Stone's 100 greatest debut albums of all time. 13 songs, but it's only 41 minutes. It's a fast journey. I bet you look good on the dance floor when the sun goes down. Those songs powered them before the album came out, and that really helped them. But yeah, just a great album.
Oh, definitely, man. I think that the rhythm section in particular is fantastic.
Yeah, the drumming and the bass work is fantastic throughout the entire album. I would be say it's the fundamental theme throughout.
And Alex Turner, I think, just has such a charisma, and I really enjoy his voice too. Very suave. And,
you feel the confidence, right?
Yeah. And that works to its advantage in a big way, man. So I would have chosen this pretty high up there too.
Well, next up, I have My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade, their third album. I did an album reaction to this with your sister, Mackenzie, which MCR is her favorite band. But I know a lot about this album because of that. Their third album, 361 on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time. Basically, Trey, it's a rock opera centered on the patient. And we kind of learn about their passage to death. They're younger and they're dying, right? And so their passage to death and the memories that he has of it. The patient dies, and death comes in the form of a parade. Of course, Welcome to the Black Parade is, obviously the famous song on there. It's based on singer Gerard Way's notion of death appearing to a person in the form of their fondest memory. In this case, seen in marching band as a child. A lot of standouts on here. There's 14 songs. Dead, Welcome to the Black Parade, of course. Teenagers, the only song that doesn't fit on here. It doesn't fit in the theme. If it was nowadays, they just release it as a single on Spotify and Apple Music and not worry about it, but they have somewhere to put it. Famous Last Words, I Don't Love You. This is so good, and they actually took on kind of a Sgt. Pepper's thing and toured as the Black Parade. So
but very creative at this point, man.
Yeah, so just an awesome album. If you haven't checked it out, give it a full listen. We have a song reaction to the song Cancer, which I didn't even mention, which is unbelievably powerful.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you chose this, man. Some of my earliest iPod memories are listening to the Black Parade and Famous Last Words, and just the whole record just works so well as a concept, and it holds up all this time later, too. I revisited it in prep for this video, and I was like, yeah, man, this thing still slaps, man. Full of bangers, the peak of MCR, in my opinion. With that said, though, I still would have chosen my second record
I almost
next.
chose it.
It's going to be Jay Dilla, and it's going to be his record Donuts.
So good.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest, instrumental hip-hop album of all time, in my opinion. It does have a bit of a heartbreaking backstory by it because it was released 3 days before Dilla's death. 29 of the 31 tracks on here were recorded from his hospital room. You're probably thinking, is this record like 3 hours? No. With 31 tracks, most songs are only about 1 to 1.5 minutes, just due to the exceptional sampling that is on this record and taken from a wide variety of sounds, of genres. Dilla's mom would come in, give him a crate of records in the hospital room. He'd go through, listen to them, choose what he wanted, and then say, okay, the rest of these, they don't have anything good on them. Give me another crate. And that's how he came up.
I did not know the story behind it. That's crazy.
And so he would go in. He had a kidney condition. He had lupus. And so, he was going through a lot of different blood treatments. But in the meantime, he would be working on this record just with a couple of his samplers, and he ended up making one of the greats ever. And it's kind of cool because it loops. The ending of the final track flows right back to the start of the record, so kind of with the Donuts theme right there. And if you're usually not a hip hop fan, this would be one of the first records I'd point to be like, go listen to this.
So good.
There's not like rapping on this, but the production itself, if you're just a fan of music, you're gonna love it. My favorite's Working on It, MASH, Lightworks, Time, but it's kind of hard to just choose one.
It is on an album like that. Yeah, it's I remember the first time I ever heard it, I'm like, wow, this is tremendous. So a great pick, and was really fighting to get into my top two. I just couldn't quite get there.
Man, and 2006, as we're seeing, Dad, very loaded at the top. Because I'm going now to a record that's probably in most people's top 3. Amy Winehouse is Back to Black, her second record. This has sold 16 million copies worldwide, and it is the second best-selling album in the UK in the 21st century, behind, I believe it's Adele's 21 record. It might be 25. It's an Adele record.
So it'll probably forever be the second best because of the way we do records. So
so I just thought that was quite the feather and her cap right there. Authentically soulful. Again, Dad, I like this one because it's in the mid 30s range. pretty concise on its runtime, and Amy just lends her legendary voice to songs about heartbreak, grief, guilt, relationship turmoil. Production kind of harkens back to those 60s girl groups. That wall of sound, Phil Spector influence is definitely on this album. And Adele even noted how highly influential this record was to her and some of the other artists that emerged in the following decade there in the UK. Title track, Rehab, of course, is probably her most famous song. He Can Only Hold Her and Tears Dry on Their Own are highlights for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember we have an album review of this up. And I remember that review. I remember what I gave it because it's one of those albums that I would have had it on my top 5. I would have had it there. But it's one of those albums that I listened to, and I listened to it several times for the review. And I never really cared to listen to it. It's just not my thing, but I do recognize the excellence that would have made my list. Speaking of excellence, a band that I absolutely love, and at the time of this film, we're going to go see in less than 3 weeks in person, The Killers, their second album, Sam's Town. Brandon Flowers noted he wanted to create an album that captured chronologically everything important that got me to where I am today. It sold 5 million copies worldwide. The thing is, between Hot Fuzz, their debut 2 years ago, and this, they changed up their sound a lot. On Hot Fuzz, there's a lot of auto-tuning and some stuff going on that Brandon didn't even know what they were doing over there. And he's like, no, man. You're going to hear my voice. But critics and somewhat the public a little bit were like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like Hot Fuzz. And they really went after him on it. And it got critically panned.
Do something different that the people aren't expecting.
Now, retrospectively, the critics have come around on it and really love it. Rolling Stone readers in 2010 voted the most underrated album of the past decade. But the problem is, their next album, they have an overreaction to it, Day and Age, and they kind of go back to the Hot Fuzz sound, but not nearly as well. So it took them a little while to find their way. Of course, When You Were Young, I think a top 5 killer song.
Oh, yeah, I do. I think that's closer to Mr. Brightside than people want.
Oh, I think it is, too. And then there's a few others that are up there, too. Then we got Read My Mind. For Reasons Unknown, fantastic song. And the title track is really good. It wasn't released as a single. It's the first track on the album. It's fantastic.
No, man, another really solid effort by the Killers right there. It would have been in contention for my list as well.
And hot take, I think it might be that much better than Hot Fuzz. Now, of course, the highs aren't as high. The first 5 songs on Hot Fuzz are unbelievable. But the second half of it, it weakens a little bit. I think this album's more consistent.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Now we got a group that I'd never heard of. They're a Canadian indie rock band. Their 7th album. We got Destroyer with Destroyer's Rubies. And ironically enough, at the time we're filming this, a week ago on your live stream on YouTube every Monday night, somebody brought a song off this album. And I just listened to it the day before. But 88 on Metacritic, who takes all the critical reviews and puts them into a score incredibly high. 158 on Pitchfork's top 200 albums of the 2000s. Dan Behar, the lead singer, stated that Destroyer's Rubies was intended to sound like a band playing in a room. He also called the album, quote, a very natural record, noting that he embraced traditional songwriters such as Bob Dylan, along with image-heavy rants with a melody, loping, folk rock background. I read that to you because it's hard to describe this album. It's just really, really good. There's not any one song that you go, I got to spin that. It's a whole album, listen, and it just really builds on itself. It's fantastic.
No, I gotta check that out because when I heard that song in the stream, and you had already heard it, you were like, it's probably gonna be chosen.
Yeah, it was weird to me that that's such a weird thing I never even heard of. Now, Trey, before you get into your next album, this is in the top 5 of every critical list that I looked at, and I was not feeling this album. I'm sorry, but I'm glad you picked it because it's so well thought of.
Well, she definitely has a voice that took me a little bit to get warmed up to.
And I never did. I'm just being honest.
No, she's definitely not going to be for everybody, but it is the wonderful Joanna Newsom E's record. Her second album, her voice is sure to be polarizing to some, as I noted, but I think her lyrical ability is just tremendous and as poetic as anybody to really come along in this century. As I was diving into some of the lyrics, it's straight out of a poetry book, honestly, with some of the images and worlds that she's building. It consists of only 5 tracks, but they are quite long. Shortest track, 7 minutes. Longest one clocks at about 17 here. And it deals with events and stuff that was going on in Joanna's life up to the time of the recording, including the death of her one of her best friends, continuing illness, and a tumultuous relationship. Orchestral arrangements here are, again, quite gorgeous. The harp makes quite a bit of appearances. voices, and I think that blends quite well with Joanna's voice, and there's a bit of a almost childlike wonderment that the album possesses that's kind of hard to pin down unless you actually kind of hear it, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. My favorites are Emily, and then Sawdust and Diamonds. Emily, actually, one of Daniel Radcliffe's, Harry Potter's himself, favorite songs. He noted in 2020 Desert Island Disc BBC interview. But
wow, Trey, you are pulling out some stats here now. Trey, before you get to your last album, we're going to get a little PG-13 here on RTTC. I mean, what a name for maybe my favorite band name I've ever heard. I've never heard of these guys, but what do you got for it?
Dude, yeah, going from a beautiful folk record, switching gears to a ska punk record, we have Jeff Rosenstock's Arrogant Sons of Bitches. 3 Cheers for Disappointment. Man, usually I'm not a big ska guy.
No, you're not. I'm not either. Sorry, Madness fans. I did a Madness top 10. It was really good, but usually no.
But this is a 6-piece ska punk band, and man, maybe that's where it is, because the energy here, Dad, is just it's turned up to 11, and I like a lot of Rosenstock's solo work. He might be appearing as we get later on into the decade, but I had never listened to this, so I'm glad that I went and checked it out, man. There's themes of pessimism of the world and throughout like any authentically pissed off punk band. The ska leanings, though, it's kind of adds a sense of fun that a pure maybe punk record doesn't always have, so to speak. And it's got some really hilarious song titles to go along with it. Some of my favorites, I Must Be a Proctologist Because All I Do Is Deal with Assholes. I thought that one was pretty tight. Piss Off and Have Fun Rotting by Yourself.
Sounds all uplifting, man.
Dude, no, give it a spin just based on the name alone. It's a pretty quick record, and man, I dug it. I dug it for sure.
My last pick, a French indie pop band. So we had Canadian on the last one with Destroy. Now we got a French indie pop band, their third album. We got Phoenix with It's Never Been Like That. 13 in Pitchfork's top 50 albums of 2006 and 38 in their top albums of the 2000s. 10 songs, 37 minutes. Just fantastic. Long distance call and consolation prizes are standouts, but their soundscape is just so nice. I think you would really like them.
Okay, need to check that out.
Never heard of them either. Honorable mentions for me, John Mayer, Continuum. We have a reaction up of that. The Thermals, The Body, The Blood, The Machine have a reaction up to that. Howling Bells, self-titled. The Decemberists, The Crane Wife. Cat Power, who's been on a previous countdown for me. The Greatest. And then Springsteen, We Shall Overcome, The Seeger Sessions. It's long. I think it's 18 songs. It's a long album. Bruce does this perfectly. I'll never listen to it again. It's not my style of music, but I threw it on it because it's really well acclaimed. It's really well done. It's just not my thing, and Springsteen's my all-time favorite, but not my thing, but it deserved a shout-out on here.
No, I also got to show some love to TV on the Radio's Return to Cookie
Didn't feel
Mountain.
that one, but I respect it.
Okay, and then a couple hip-hop releases, Ghostface Killer's Fish Scale, and then Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor, showing some love there.
Maybe you should listen to Joanna Newsom and then Ghostface Killer.
Dude,
Let us know what you think. Listen to them back to back.
Double feature right there. But, man, really strong year. I think one of the strongest of this decade.
Yeah, I agree.
Just looking especially at the top.
Let
us know your favorite records from 2006 and who you think came out on top between Sean and I. And we'll be back next week with 2007. Only a few years left in this decade. It's going quick, man. And of course, you can check out all our other drafts in the playlist, which will be linked below, linked at the end. And that'll do it from us today. So until next time, thanks for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.